The little girl tore free from her father's hand and sprinted across the crowded charity festival before anyone could stop her. Hundreds of people turned in confusion as she threw her tiny arms around the leg of a rugged single father standing near a veterans exhibit. Then she looked up at the faded trident tattoo on his forearm, tears filling her eyes, and cried out with trembling certainty that it matched the one in her late mother's old photograph. The billionaire CEO who had spent years protecting painful family secrets stood frozen as memories he had buried forever came crashing back in front of an entire crowd. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, share this story with someone who may need encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel. Every act of support helps our family and our community continue sharing stories that remind us the human heart is capable of extraordinary healing. The billionaire was called Preston Carlisle, a respected technology entrepreneur whose name appeared on magazine covers almost as often as it appeared in financial headlines. To the outside world, he represented discipline, intelligence, and success. Employees admired him. Investors trusted him. Communities benefited from the generous foundations he quietly funded. Yet behind every public achievement lived a private sorrow that never loosened its grip. 6 years earlier, his wife, Claire, had died during a humanitarian mission overseas after volunteering to deliver emergency medical supplies to isolated villages recovering from a devastating natural disaster. The tragedy shattered Preston's carefully ordered world, leaving him to raise their 8-year-old daughter, Marin, alone. Every morning he smiled for board meetings and interviews. Every afternoon he smiled for his daughter. Only when no one was watching did the loneliness return with overwhelming force. Marin remembered her mother differently than anyone else. She remembered laughter during sunny walks through wildflower fields, picnic lunches beside peaceful lakes, and gentle hands tying ribbons in her hair before school. She also remembered something everyone else considered insignificant. Claire had once shown her an old photograph of herself standing beside a group of military medics and rescue volunteers. One of the smiling men had a distinctive trident tattoo on his forearm. Claire had lovingly explained that the tattoo belonged to one of the bravest people she had ever met, someone who had once saved innocent lives without expecting recognition. Marin had stared at the unusual design long enough that it remained permanently fixed inside her memory. As the years passed, Preston buried every reminder connected to Claire's final mission because the pain remained unbearable. He packed away photographs, journals, and keepsakes, believing he was protecting both himself and his daughter. He never realized children often preserve memories more faithfully than adults. While he tried to forget, Marin quietly remembered. Across the city lived a man named Garrett Holden. Few people knew he had once served as a Navy SEAL because he rarely spoke about that chapter of his life. Years of dangerous missions had left emotional scars deeper than physical ones. After leaving military service, Garrett married the woman who had patiently helped him rediscover peace. Together they welcomed a son named Owen before illness unexpectedly claimed Garrett's wife only 3 years later. Suddenly he found himself navigating parenthood alone while balancing a modest career teaching emergency preparedness and water safety to local communities. He never chased wealth or recognition. His greatest accomplishment each day was making sure his son felt loved, safe, and hopeful despite growing up without a mother. Garrett wore long sleeves most of the time, not because he disliked his tattoo, but because strangers constantly asked questions about it. The faded trident reminded him of brothers he had lost, impossible decisions, and promises made under unimaginable pressure. It also reminded him of a compassionate volunteer nurse named Claire who had once risked everything to comfort frightened children during a humanitarian mission years before her marriage to Preston. They had never shared a romance. They had simply shared extraordinary moments where courage and kindness mattered more than fear. Before going separate ways, Claire had insisted on taking a group photograph because she believed acts of service deserved to be remembered even when no medals followed. Neither Garrett nor Preston knew they would cross paths again. One bright autumn afternoon, Preston's foundation hosted a large family festival supporting veterans transitioning into civilian life. Sunshine covered the entire park. Children painted colorful banners celebrating gratitude. Local musicians performed cheerful acoustic melodies. Food trucks lined the pathways while non-profit organizations introduced families to community programs. Garrett volunteered at one educational exhibit, helping children learn basic emergency first aid through playful demonstrations. Owen proudly assisted his father, laughing whenever younger children successfully completed simple challenges. Preston attended with Marin, hoping the relaxed atmosphere would help her smile after several emotionally difficult months. She wandered between booths with quiet curiosity until she suddenly stopped walking. Across the lawn she noticed Garrett removing his light jacket because of the afternoon warmth. The faded trident tattoo became visible for only a moment. Her heart immediately recognized what her mind could hardly believe. Before Preston realized what had captured her attention, Marin broke into a desperate run. People instinctively stepped aside. Garrett turned just as the little girl wrapped her arms around him. Confused but gentle, he remained perfectly still. When Marin looked at the tattoo with tearful eyes and whispered that it matched the one in her mother's treasured photograph, time itself seemed to pause. Garrett's expression changed instantly. Claire. The name echoed silently through memories he had not revisited in years. Preston reached them moments later, embarrassed and apologetic, but Garrett softly reassured him there was nothing to apologize for. When Preston heard his late wife's name spoken by a complete stranger, disbelief swept across his face. The conversation that followed unfolded quietly beneath the warm afternoon sun while festival laughter continued in the distance. Garrett explained that Claire had volunteered alongside his rescue unit during an international humanitarian deployment many years before she met Preston. She had inspired exhausted soldiers with impossible optimism, treating frightened families with extraordinary compassion regardless of their background. She often carried extra crayons inside her medical pack because she believed scared children deserved something colorful even during disasters. Garrett still remembered watching Claire kneel beside injured youngsters, somehow convincing them to smile despite overwhelming fear. Preston listened in complete silence. These were stories he had never heard. Claire had rarely spoken about her volunteer work because she believed kindness lost something precious when it became self-promotion. Garrett reached into an old backpack and carefully removed a weathered notebook he always carried. Tucked inside was the very same group photograph Marin remembered. The edges had faded with age, but Claire's joyful smile remained unmistakable. Preston held the photograph with trembling hands. It felt as though a forgotten piece of his wife had suddenly returned home. Over the following weeks, the two fathers gradually formed an unexpected friendship. Marin insisted they visit Garrett and Owen whenever possible. The children quickly became inseparable, building treehouses, flying kites, collecting colorful leaves, and creating miniature boats to race along shallow streams during sunny afternoons. Preston noticed something remarkable. For the first time since Claire's passing, Marin laughed without immediately feeling guilty afterward. Garrett also changed. For years he had hidden his military past because he feared being remembered only for war instead of healing. Watching Owen and Marin play together reminded him that service did not end when uniforms came off. Protecting hope remained another kind of mission. As trust deepened, Garrett revealed one final secret. During Claire's last humanitarian mission years later, she had unexpectedly contacted him shortly before leaving because she wanted advice about safely organizing volunteer rescue teams. Garrett had shared everything he knew, encouraging her to protect herself while helping others. After learning of her death, he quietly blamed himself, wondering whether different advice might have changed the outcome. Preston immediately understood the burden Garrett had carried. With calm sincerity, he assured him that Claire had always chosen compassion freely. No one could have prevented a tragedy born from selfless courage. She would never have wanted another person imprisoned by guilt over decisions she willingly made herself. Those words became the beginning of Garrett's own healing. Months later, Preston's company prepared to open a state-of-the-art children's resilience center dedicated to supporting families facing grief and trauma. During planning meetings, consultants proposed honoring Claire through elegant architecture or expensive artwork. Preston respectfully declined every extravagant suggestion. Instead, he invited Garrett to help create something far simpler. Together they designed a peaceful outdoor remembrance garden where children could paint small stones with messages of hope before placing them beside winding pathways lined with flowers. Parents often discovered conversations beginning naturally while walking through the sunshine together. Veterans found quiet places to reflect. Widowed spouses met others who truly understood loss. Children realized sadness never had to be faced alone. At the entrance stood a modest bronze sculpture showing two adults gently helping two children across a shallow stream. There were no military uniforms, no business suits, and no symbols of wealth. The inscription simply reminded visitors that courage is measured not by what we conquer, but by whose burdens we choose to carry. One bright spring afternoon, the garden welcomed hundreds of families during its annual community celebration. Maren and Owen helped younger children decorate hope stones while Preston and Garrett greeted visitors side by side. Watching them, few people would have guessed that one man led an international corporation while the other taught life-saving skills in neighborhood parks. Grief had erased every social distinction. Fatherhood had built something stronger than status. Maren eventually walked toward the sculpture holding the original faded photograph safely preserved inside a protective frame. She smiled as sunlight illuminated the familiar tattoo in the picture and then glanced at Garrett's forearm. The design had once represented painful memories. Now it represented something entirely different. It reminded everyone that acts of kindness ripple across generations in ways no one can predict. A single photograph remembered by a little girl had reunited forgotten pieces of many broken hearts. Before we reach the end of this journey, we would love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment sharing whether someone from your past unexpectedly changed your life forever, or whether forgiveness helped you finally put down a burden you had carried for years. Your story may become the encouragement another member of our community needs today. As families filled the garden with laughter beneath the warm afternoon sky, Preston realized success had never truly been measured by company valuations or corporate achievements. His greatest blessing arrived the moment his daughter trusted her heart enough to run toward a stranger connected to the love she feared she was losing forever. Garrett discovered that the tattoo he once tried to hide had quietly become a bridge between broken souls instead of a reminder of painful memories. Owen learned that heroes are not defined by uniforms but by the kindness they continue showing long after the hardest battles end. Maren carried her mother's compassion forward, proving that love never disappears when a life ends. It simply finds new hands willing to pass it on. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. May we all remember that the smallest memories can uncover the greatest miracles, and that hope often arrives disguised as an unexpected connection waiting patiently beneath the warmth of an ordinary day.